Luna here, and today I'm following up on the promise, or perhaps threat, I made during the first Let's Play I ever made. I'm challenge running Enchanted Arms. I'd love to know how many of you have heard of this game. Somehow I played this when I was a kid, but I still haven't played any of the Final Fantasy series. Enchanted Arms is a turn-based JRPG made by FromSoft. Yes, the Dark Souls devs, that was released in 2006 for the Xbox 360 and later the PlayStation 3. We will be running the 360 version, partly to avoid the 6-axis minigames. There are also balance changes that make the 360 version harder. I'll be skipping minor dialogue and cutscenes to keep this video to a watchable length, but I'll cover the basic plot. With that, let's get into the rules. We cannot spend skill points, SP. We must play the 360 version of Enchanted Arms. We must get the true ending. We cannot use Omega. No cheats, glitches, exploits, or gameplay mods. For this run, we aren't allowed to spend skill points, which will be called SP from here on out. Leveling up and equipping weapons will be the only ways to increase our stats. More importantly, we won't be able to learn new skills. We won't even be able to use skills obtained during story events because we'd have to spend SP to learn them. New EX moves are the only exception. They're kind of like limit breaks if you're more familiar with Final Fantasy, but a little different. We're going to have to rely on golems because our human party members' skills will be outclassed quickly, but golem skills are fixed and more powerful golems have better skills. We can't remove Atsuma from the party, but he's the only mandatory human for most fights, giving us room in the battle party for 3 golems. There are 3 states golems can be in the battle party, on the sidelines, or at the shop. Characters in the battle party gain experience and SP. Characters on the sidelines gain experience only, and golems at the shop gain nothing. We can have 8 golems with us, and golems we leave at the shop will fall behind in levels. This is one of the biggest differences between the 360 and PS3 versions. On the PS3 version, you don't have to leave golems at the shop, so all of them are available and leveling at all times. The fights in the school play out normally. We aren't supposed to have new skills at this point after all. We picked TM Tops for our first golem because he has wind type coverage and his barrier and clear aid skills are useful.
Yeah.
How did I let this happen?
After the battle with Yuki, an earthquake devastates the city. Atsuma returns to the university to find his dog, Koda, but Koda runs into the sealed ward. I'm sure nothing terrible will happen if we follow him. Inside, we find a lost golem. Lost golems can be fought to gain their core material, which will allow us to synthesize them at the shop so we can have them in our party. Further in, we come across the Fire Guardian, the first boss fight, but the early game is uncharacteristically easy for FromSoft, so this isn't an issue. As you may have noticed, characters and some attacks have an element icon beside them: water, fire, wind, earth, dark, and light. When characters are hit with an attack of the opposing element, they take double damage. If they're hit with an attack of the same element, they take half damage. Characters mostly have attacks that match their element and neutral attacks with no element. Attacks are also direct or ranged. This determines which stat affects their power, and direct attacks are affected by cover. If a direct attack hits a unit standing behind an ally, they'll take half damage, and if they're behind 2 friendly units, they'll take no damage. This can be used to keep units with low health safe, which is why we keep Makoto and TM Tops behind Atsuma and Toya. Toya's EX move, Heaven's Squall, does massive damage to the Fire Guardian because it's a water move, and with one final combo attack, we take out the Fire Guardian. Past the Guardian, we find what was sealed down here, an Ice Golem. Atsuma's right arm reacts and awakens it.
My name is Queen of Ice.
If you think of me as a goddess, well, you'll be close enough. Yes.
Toya fends her off admirably, but the queen plays dirty and attacks Atsuma and Makoto, forcing Toya to take a grievous hit to save them. Atsuma's right arm reacts again and he transforms, granting him the strength to fight the Queen of Ice, but he can't sustain the transformation long enough to take her out. Makoto makes the foolish decision to taunt the Devil Golem, which ends predictably, and the Queen takes Toya with her as she leaves. Atsuma somehow survives the destruction of Yokohama City and wakes up in a cell in London City. We're soon joined by Karine, who is unceremoniously tossed in our cell as she screams at the guards. Her protector, Rygar, arrives and smashes through the cell wall. Lacking options, Atsuma escapes with them. Karine and Rygar are normally very strong. Karine can get healing and resurrection skills, and she has some good water attacks too. Rygar can learn incredibly strong earth and neutral attacks, and one of the best barrier skills. However, in this run, Karine is stuck with Cure Dance, Kick, and Aqua Mist, and Rygar has Blade and Barrier Excel. We'll get Rygar a better weapon before he has to win a duel, but for the most part, resources will go towards upgrades for Atsuma's weapons and new golems. Speaking of which, we synthesized a Knight Servant and Rhea Mimosa. Knight Servant will be a decent Rygar replacement for now, and Rhea Mimosa will be one of our main healers for a while with high Cure Dance and an HP Drain Dance that can steal HP from enemies. We may have to use Karine and Rygar if the Golem's VP runs low, though. Units lose VP every battle unless we win the battle on the first turn. The more turns we take, the more VP we lose. A unit with 0 VP enters battle with a 1 HP and 1 Ether. We can't buy the VP restoring item yet, so we have to use VP points scattered across the world. We fight some knights during our escape. They aren't tough, but they hit hard if they gang up on the same target. Past them, we find a shop with new core materials available. We'll get the weapon cores for Atsuma and Rygar later, but a couple of the available golems are a bigger priority: Sasquatch and Mage Guardian. Sasquatch is a tank with a powerful Ice Giga Blow, and he can buff allies' stats. Mage Guardian is a glass cannon with light attacks that scale well even in the mid to late game. They're two golems that'll stick with us through most of the game, and I want them to start gaining experience. Sasquatch won't level much right now because he starts at level 15 and we're level 7, but Mage Guardian starts at level 8, so it's only slightly ahead. We make it to a bar in London City and Karine explains some things.
We're members of a resistance movement based in a mine to the west of London City.
Resistance against what?
We fight against the tyranny of London City's ruler, King Caliban.
Okay. And where do I fit into this?
Well, King Caliban has a plan to protect us from the Queen of Ice. He intends to resurrect the Emperor of Fire. Our own Devil Golem sealed away here in London City. It would be Yokohama all over again. That's why we in the Resistance are working to prevent the Emperor of Fire's revival. Luckily for us, the Emperor of Fire and his Magicore are still separated. If we can just get our hands on the Magicore, hide it away.
You'll be able to prevent the Emperor of Fire from being revived? Okay, but without the Emperor of Fire, how will we defeat the Queen?
We want to borrow the power of your right arm.
But I have one condition. A trade.
A trade? What do you want?
I want to see Yokohama City for myself. I need to look for my friends.
Wait!
Unfortunately, a landslide has blocked the main road to Yokohama, so we have to take an old military road through the forest. We run into Yuki hunting golems in the forest, so she survived. She doesn't elaborate on that. Ever. She runs off, hinting that there's a powerful golem nearby. She's not wrong either. A holy beast golem is nearby, but we're not ready for that yet, so we ignore the holy beast shrine for now. The road leads to an old military base. Unfortunately for us, a large golem, Amazonia, has moved in. It has an earth ball attack that can hit most of the field, as well as Giga Breath, which is more powerful but hits a smaller area. It also has a drain bark that absorbs health and a poison ball. Poison inflicts damage equal to a percentage of the character's current health each turn. There's a negate poison passive skill, but learning passive skills requires SP. Atsuma's new weapon, Rogue Knuckle, helps him deal some damage, but only having Punch and Flame Rush makes it difficult to get him into attack range, so we have to rely on our golems. On our way up the coastal road to Yokohama, we find a Saber Tiger and claim its core material. Saber Tiger is vulnerable to water attacks, but it can hit enemies in the front rows hard, and it can heal itself with its HP Drain Bite. It tends to be too fragile for the late game, but we synthesize it for now. After that, we see what's left of Yokohama City. Atsuma wants to continue on to the university, so we cross the frozen harbor to find a way inside. We find a mermaid we can fight for its core material out on the ice. Mermaid is similar to Rio Mimosa, but overall more useful because she has Cure Melody, a single target healing skill that restores the target to their max HP. For now, it won't be any better than High Cure Voice or High Cure Dance, but it will be stronger once our characters have higher max health. Mermaid starts with roughly 4 level advantage over the rest of the party. That gap will shrink over time, but at the moment she's noticeably stronger. Mermaid is also less likely to tick off YouTube than Rio Mimosa, to be honest. An aqua jelly appears out of thin air as we cross the ice and it attacks us. It has strong water attacks that hit large areas, so the only way to keep Atsuma alive is to have him behind an ally for cover. But because we can't learn new skills, Atsuma can only attack from the front 2 rows, unless we burn EX meter that I'd like to save. We have Atsuma go out in a blaze of glory, hitting the Aqua Jelly with a Flare Rush, while Sasquatch boosts the rest of the team's stats. Sasquatch and Mermaid tank the Aqua Jelly's attacks thanks to their water typing. Sasquatch only has a water attack, so his damage is halved too, but Mermaid's attacks are neutral, so she inflicts her full damage. Mage Guardian's damage outclasses both of them in this battle, but we have to keep it behind a teammate because without cover it would be one-shot by the Aqua Jelly's attacks. Thankfully, Mage Guardian is a ranged attacker that can hit a large target like the Aqua Jelly from the middle and back rows while in cover. We win on the first try and head into the city. The next mandatory battle is against 4 Lady Azlites. They have an ice sonic attack and they can heal each other. If we don't take a couple of them out quickly, they'll out-heal us and wear us down. I tried this fight without using an EX and we got destroyed. But on the next attempt, we take a couple of them out with the help of a summoned Phoenix from Atsuma and chip down the survivors. There's a core material we can grab from this patch of flowers near the sealed ward for a pylone. I wish its Drain Sight ability restored health instead of ether, but it has a strong single target light attack, it can reverse enemies' types, and if we drain enough ether, we can use it to debilitate enemies. There's no basic attack in this game. Ether is needed to do anything except use an item or an EX move, assuming you have enough EX meter. The unfrozen part of the building has a teleporter that takes us to a hidden facility. These areas' encounters have a lot of dark-type golems, so Mage Guardian and Pylone are helpful, provided we take out enemies with dark attacks quickly. The only fight they aren't good for is this one, because these golems are wind type. They have a lot of health, deal a lot of damage, can hit large areas from just about anywhere, have a wind attack to counter earth units, and they have enough speed to get a surprise attack, so they go first. It takes several tries, but we finally get this attempt where Sasquatch is in a position to buff Mermaid and Rio Mimosa's stats on our first turn, and everyone survives the surprise round. Atsuma summons Phoenixes while Rio Mimosa heals and covers him. Mermaid is stuck on the other side of Sasquatch, so she drains health from the destroyers that she can reach. Sasquatch is taken out before we can move him, separating Mermaid from the others until his body disappears in 3 turns. But the enemies split their attacks and keep using Arrow Burst, which Rio Mimosa resists, so we stay up. It takes most of our EX meter, but a combo attack from Atsuma and Rio Mimosa wins the battle. We enter the final room of the facility and find Professor Ko, Atsuma and Toya's tutor. Ko shows he's the true monster by mutating Atsuma's dog, Koda, into a Cerberus golem we have to battle. The fight goes well as long as Mage Guardian or Pylone survives the surprise round, because Cerberus is a dark type that has no dark attacks and is vaporized by their light attacks. By the time it takes out our light golems, it's so weak Atsuma and Mermaid easily finish it off, allowing us to pursue Ko. The battle with Ko can be difficult if you don't have enough damage, because Ko can summon Night Owls endlessly, and once he has 3 of them on the field, he can use his EX move, Pandemonium, which would one-shot our whole party. However, Mage Guardian and Pylone can both one-shot Night Owls with minimal health. So if one focuses on the Night Owl and the other hits Ko, we can keep Ko from doing anything besides summoning. If Ko used Dark Bolt to take out our light golems, this would be a lot harder, but he never does. On top of that, Atsuma gets a new EX skill before this battle, Stun Bead Flare, which hits a single target for heavy fire damage. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. We return to London City. Atsuma is overwhelmed by what he's learned, but Kareen snaps him out of it enough to help the Resistance like he promised. First, we need to get to the Resistance hideout. On the way to the hideout, we're attacked by a Minotaur, a hard-hitting fire golem. Poor Sasquatch nearly got one shot during the surprise round, so he only gets 1 attack before he goes down. Saber Tiger gets some good damage in with Sabretooth, but is too fragile to survive the Minotaur's Quake attack, which is neutral and thus not resisted. Atsuma and Rio Mimosa were able to survive indefinitely because Atsuma was covering Rio Mimosa, and Rio Mimosa was healing both of them, so eventually we wore the Minotaur down. It turns out the Resistance has the Emperor of Fire's magic ore. They're keeping it so King Caliban can't revive the Emperor of Fire. While exploring the Resistance hideout, we find a royal bone golem we can fight to obtain its core material. The fight is difficult because of their soldier's shield, a barrier that cuts the damage they take in half, but we eventually win and synthesize it. We probably should have swapped out TM Tops because Royal Bone has a better barrier skill, but TM Tops is adorable and I'd like to keep him, so we swap out Amazonia. Yuki got caught lurking around the Resistance hideout, but she was just looking for golems to hunt, so we get her off the hook. In return, she decides fighting is the best way to cheer Atsuma up, and somehow it works. After the fight, Yuki joins us, and we find some scouts from the London Knights. We take them out, but by the time we alert the rest of the Resistance, we're surrounded and have to help the Resistance fend off several groups of Knights. The Knights are Earth types, so we take Pylone, Royal Bone, and Mermaid with us. Pylone uses Reverse Element to change the Knights to Wind type, and then Royal Bone uses Earth Spike to decimate them. Atsuma went down once because I put him in the front row for a greedy flare rush attack, and the Knights hit him with Mega Blade, but that was the only hiccup. After we fend off the underlings, we fight their captain, Oka. Pylone spent most of the battle wrecking the other Knights with High Light Force, while Royal Bone put Soldier's Shield on everyone. Mermaid kept everybody healed, and Atsuma used Flare Rush on Oka, repeatedly. The Soldier's Shield kept Atsuma alive despite recklessly keeping him in the front row, at least until the rest of the team was done with the underlings. After that, they finished off Oka and picked Atsuma up out of the dirt. The Resistance members bicker among themselves after the battle, convinced a traitor ratted them out. Kareen thinks the leader of the Resistance is responsible, and follows one of his henchmen when they run off with the Emperor of Fire's magic core in the middle of the night. She follows the henchman to a meeting with Oka, so she was right, but she gets captured. When the Resistance finds out the magic core is gone, their leader accuses Kareen of the theft, leaving us to rescue her on our own. On the way, we synthesize the Beat Blaster, a new weapon for Atsuma. It isn't a straight upgrade compared to the Rogue Knuckle because it gives Atsuma less ether and support, However, in this run, Atsuma has more than enough ether because he's stuck with his low-cost starting skills, and we can't equip his healing skill to take advantage of the support stat, so using Beat Blaster is a no-brainer. We also synthesized the Amber Sword for Rygar because the duel I mentioned is coming up soon. We fight through the Resistance leader's henchman with no trouble. The henchman is water type and the golem is dark type, so between Atsuma and Pylone we vaporize both of them with some help from Soldier's Shield and Mermaid's healing. Defeating Oka to rescue Kareen isn't so easy. Blood Fencer can only hit the front row, and Lord Onyx's attacks are weak. Oka, however, hits like a truck after he's doubled his stats with Power Omega, and I forgot Mermaid's No Power Sonic can negate stat buffs. His worst attacks are limited to the front row, but his EX, Crossed Flames, can hit a large area for insanely high fire damage. Even with Soldier's Shield, only Atsuma can survive it, and he can only take it once without healing. We take out Lord Onyx and get some damage on Oka before he can use his EX, but he takes out Royal Bone and Mermaid and damages Atsuma. Losing Royal Bone and Mermaid gave us the EX meter we needed to use Stunbeat Flare, which does just enough damage to take out Oka while Pylone takes out Blood Fencer, winning the battle. Kareen tells us to look for the Magicore, hoping that Oka kept it nearby.
Frosty Crone said something about Toya being her Magicore. I wonder what that means. Well, anyway, let's get this back to Kareen. Huh? This Magicore feels odd. I touched the Magicore and I was kinda out of it for a moment, but...
You touched the Magicore? Oh no! Look at this, it's cracked!
Oh yeah.
This is the Fire Magicore! The Emperor of Fire's Magicore!
It's only a small crack. Just glue it up or something. You can still use it.
You haven't cracked a bowl, okay? You cracked a Magicore!
Hold on. Can a Magicore really be damaged so easily?
They are bound in the most powerful enchants, I believe. Even dropping one from the top of the Sage's Tower would not break it.
My. I thought I felt some resonance around here. This explains it then. I'll try and freeze London City solid, and you try and revive the Emperor of Fire. The fastest one wins. How does that sound? Fun, yes?
Once we enter the castle, we start the dreaded duel I mentioned between Rygar and Oka. Oka is wounded from the previous battle, but still has twice our health and stronger attacks, so this isn't looking good. We use Rygar's EX, Levitain, which boosts all our stats except health and ether by 100%, doubling our damage. We can't have a stat boost and a barrier at the same time, so Barrier Excel is useless. We attack and then retreat to the back row and heal by using Curing Powder or God's Nectar, depending on how much health we're missing. We need nearly full health to survive Oka's EX, and retreating to the back row forces Oka to move to the front row to attack us, so we can reach him with our attack on the following turn. Unfortunately, we're going to need more than one Curing Powder and God's Nectar to make it through this fight. And guess who forgot to buy healing items? We're going to have to double back to the shop. One moment, please. Okay, we're back with as many Curing Powders, God's Nectars, and Recovery Powders as possible. We can carry 9 of each, which should be plenty. This battle goes much better. It takes 3 God's Nectars and 2 Curing Powders, but Rygar manages to beat Oka. As we enter the Inferno Temple, Kareen has a flashback.
But we, descendants of the ancient royal line, are different, because our bodies can become a Magicore for a devil golem.
I could be a Magicore? But what about the Magicore we already have?
Well, we may call it a Magicore, but really it's a replica at best. Created so that a devil golem can be operated without sacrificing human life.
So, what's the difference between using a replica and a human?
In ancient times, a human Magicore was able to exert some control over the golem. But time has passed, and royal blood grows thin. I doubt the same could be said now. Even if it should cost me my life, I will never allow this devil golem to be revived. Karine, you too must swear to it.
Yes, Father. I swear, in the name of my mother.
Please say you aren't considering breaking that oath, Karine,
It's nothing.
because that would be a really bad idea.
My lady.
No more wasting time.
In front of the royal chamber, there's a Poseidon golem blocking our way. Despite entering the fight with a random party made up of whoever had VP left, it went well. Sasquatch boosted the entire team's stats, and once Hatsuma landed a stun bead flare combo attack, it was all over. We would have almost one-shot the thing with that kind of damage.
Oh my, what a... That magic core you found looks like it's been damaged. What now?
Karine, stop!
No! My lady! Please, don't! No! My lady! Don't do this!
Sorry.
Perhaps I toyed with her a little too long. This is worrisome. Although, maybe we should look upon it as a divine opportunity. Very well then. Emperor of Fire, let us enjoy a little Golem War.
The Emperor of Fire can be a tough boss if you don't fight him with the right party. We go in with Saber Tiger, Rhea Mimosa, and Royal Bone. Saber Tiger deals good damage even against fire units because he has neutral attacks, and his fire typing will resist some of the Emperor's attacks. Rhea Mimosa is the only healing unit we have that isn't water type, and her clear dance will help because the Emperor can inflict the gravity status, which locks units in place. Royal Bone is there to put Soldier Shield on everyone. Atsuma can't do much because the Emperor is immune to fire, but he can punch him for some damage to help outpace his regeneration. Most of Rhea Mimosa's turns are spent healing whoever she can reach, but we have to keep the team split up to stay out of range of the Emperor's Hellfire attack, which is the one that inflicts the gravity stats. Royal Bone and Mimosa get hit with Hellfire and locked in the back left corner, but they can attack from there, so it isn't much of an issue. If the same thing happened to Atsuma or Sabretooth, they wouldn't be able to attack at all. Shortly after that, the Emperor starts glowing blue. When he does that, we can't attack him because we'll hurt Kareen. So we take a moment to use a God's Liquid on Ria Mimosa to restore her ether, and use Clear Dance to remove the gravity status from herself and Royal Bone. The rest of the team stands by to recover ether until the Emperor reabsorbs Kareen. We incapacitate him, and the mystery man that looks oh so familiar gives us a hint on how we can save Kareen and defeat the Emperor.
Kareen! Safe! Just... You really are high maintenance.
The party decides to head to Kyoto. Kyoto City has a devil golem sealed away, so the Queen of Ice is likely to head there. And Rygar knows of a vague secret art that may help Atsuma control his right arm. Getting to Kyoto is quite the journey. We have to go past the ruins of Yokohama through Yaozimp Gorge to Junk City, then cross a desert to get to Kyoto. Before we head out, we synthesize the Poseidon Golem we fought in the Inferno Temple and Ruby Butterfly, a fire golem that has a decent fire attack, good healing, and stat boosting skills. She's also level 45. We're level 21 right now. We swap out Pylon and TM Tops for them. Leaving TM Tops behind makes me sad, but every other golem had a better argument for staying. If we need them later, we can pick them up from any shop, but we'll have to level grind them. We find Pro Cotton in Yaozimp Gorge. Pro Cotton is a wind golem with a barrier skill as strong as Soldier's Shield that affects a wider area, and a stat boosting skill like Sasquatch's. We swap out Royal Bone for her because Soldier's Shield was... Yuki starts shenanigans in Junk City, putting us in conflict with Fubile. Fubile and Fubile's aid are the only enemies in the game other than an optional boss that don't have an element. This means they're resistant to neutral attacks and take normal damage from elemental attacks. As far as I can tell, they aren't weak to anything. I don't know if this is intentional, but they're like this in both versions of the game. After we defeat Fubile, Yuki runs back to Yaozimp Gorge to use the Golem Flute she stole to summon the Sphinx. The Sphinx deals over 400 damage with its Earth attack, so poor Pro Cotton takes nearly 900 damage after our first turn, but she's done her job because she boosted the rest of the team's stats by 50%. Saber Tiger gets one shot by the same attack, but Ruby Butterfly and Atsuma do good damage, and Ruby Butterfly can heal both of them when needed. Once we've stalled long enough to fill our combo meters, Atsuma uses Stun Bead Flare and a combo attack with Ruby Butterfly's Mega Flare kick, which decimates the Sphinx. We get the Sphinx's core material, but if we synthesize Sphinx, it will be level 1. So we'd have to level grind it. I'm also reluctant to have large golems that take up 4 tiles because they can block other units from getting where they need to go. It's also hard to keep them out of enemies' attack ranges, and they aren't strong enough compared to units that take 1 tile to be worthwhile most of the time. Sasquatch is an exception, but his size is still a pain. Upon entering the marsh on the Kyoto border, we encounter a woman being attacked by ninjas. She appears to be a parrying master and is riposting them all effortlessly, but Kareen insists we charge in to help. Ninjas are one of the most annoying enemies in the game. They always have a full combo meter, so if they gang up on a target, they can do massive damage, and they explode. We entered the fight with Saber Tiger, Mermaid, and Sasquatch, which was not a good team for this battle. Sasquatch is easily hit by their combos, and Saber Tiger is too frail. But Ruby Butterfly, Mage Guardian, and Poseidon were out of VP because the desert was full of random encounters. So our only other options were Rhea Mimosa and Prill Cotton. In retrospect, Prill Cotton's barrier would have been more useful, and she would have had an easier time avoiding combo attacks than Sasquatch. I nearly reloaded to try that, but we got an attempt where Mermaid just managed to pull through with the help of a God's Nectar and a recovery powder. This is the first time we've used items outside of Rygar's duel. We may have to grind soon. We've been exploring for treasure and lost golems, so we've been getting a lot of random encounters, and we're a higher level than we would be if we were rushing from objective to objective, but we haven't had to resort to running in a circle grinding out random battles. For now, we're going to continue on. Maybe we'll get some new golems that can carry us a bit further. The woman we saved is named Sayaka, and she's engaged to Rygar. It's complicated. She leads us to Kyoto City to speak with the Shogun, but the city is sealed because the Queen of Ice has been sighted nearby. The guard at the gate says to return after they have confirmed the Queen of Ice has left the immediate area. We return to Sayaka's village with her and stay the night. There's a lot of dialogue I'm skipping over because it's character stuff. We head out in the morning to seek an audience with Tokamune for permission to enter the ascetic court so Atsuma can learn an art that will help him control his right arm. Unfortunately, Tokamune is, well, like this.
Yes, I don't care about it seems King Caliban needlessly sacrificed his life.
What?
And here is his successor, a mere girl, unable to protect his city and unable to raise an effective successor. Buffoon!
Milady, restrain yourself.
I know!
Sayaka, why have you brought these lippy ingrates before me?
My lord.
I'm surrounded by imbeciles! Your father was just as bad, criticizing me, then absconding. Your whole clan is unworthy.
Milady, I hate to bring this up.
We nearly
but
got
you failed
ourselves
to obtain
executed,
permission
but
to enter
Sayaka
the
saves the
ascetic
day by getting his permission to enter the ascetic court.
I don't care. Do as you please, were his exact words.
Okay.
Yay, malicious compliance. However, it seems Tokamune isn't the only one we'll have to deal with.
Yes, very good. Take care of them.
I thought you would agree, my lord. I have already put plans into action.
First, we need to get the key to the ascetic court from a shrine on an isolated side street in Kyoto City. Kareen doesn't want to go inside because the shrine is full of cobwebs, and for some reason, Rygar doesn't stay outside with her. So of course, Kareen gets kidnapped by ninjas. We fight several of them, and this time the fight is much easier because we have Ruby Butterfly and Prill Cotton on our team, but by the time we get rid of them, the ninja carrying Kareen has fled through a gate across the river. We enter the gate to find a ninja hideout on the other side. The random encounters here are rough, and depending on which golems we have in our party, the enemies may be able to outspeed us and get the first turn. We have to use a God's Vigor on Atsuma to restore his VP, because the fights are so brutal, we're losing a lot of VP in each one. We nearly have to use God's Vigors on some of our golems too, before we finally reach a VP point underneath the hideout. After challenging Ouroboros, Rygar bravely lets Atsuma and her golems fight in his stead. Prill Cotton puts a barrier on herself and Atsuma, while Ruby Butterfly boosts Mage Guardian's stats. It's a 25% boost instead of a 50% boost like Prill Cotton's, but Prill Cotton started too far away from Mage Guardian to boost it on the first turn, and a 25% boost is better than nothing. Mage Guardian uses its single target light attack on Ouroboros, Highlight Force. This attack makes the fight easy. Ouroboros is dark type, but he has no dark attacks, and his strongest attacks can only hit the front row. So as long as Mage Guardian stays out of the front row and preferably behind an ally for cover, it can't be one-shot. Ouroboros does his Shadow Clone Jutsu and summons 2 Kages. They can hit hard if they combo with Ouroboros, but we'll be ignoring them because we only have to take out Ouroboros, and we can tell which one is real by examining them during our turn. Atsuma uses Flare Rush, and thanks to the 50% barrier, can survive attacks from all 3 enemies as long as Ruby Butterfly heals him every turn. Meanwhile, Prill Cotton gets her stronger 50% stat buff on Mage Guardian, so Mage Guardian can fry Ouroboros with High Light Force. I thought this fight was going to be harder going into it, but no, Mage Guardian, Prill Cotton, and Ruby Butterfly carry the day. And Atsuma wasn't too shabby either.
You look like you were raised by raccoons.
The party decides to do a stupid and confront Tokamune about Karin's abduction, even though we haven't visited the ascetic court yet, and all Tokamune has to do to screw us over is revoke his permission to enter. It doesn't help that Atsuma and Yuki are about as diplomatic as roid-raging chimpanzees.
Shut it! Taking care of you will clean up this entire mess as I see it.
Stop!
Huh?
Please withdraw. If you do not, then I will be forced to cut you down myself.
The rest of you rabble, I've decided not to allow you into the ascetic court after all.
After that predictable encounter where we made negative progress, Sayaka heads back to her village. If we want to get into the ascetic court, we'll have to fight her. Sayaka will counterattack if any units are standing in the T-shaped range in front of her when she's hit. This means Atsuma and Ruby Butterfly cannot attack her without getting countered under most circumstances, and even Prill Cotton and Mermaid have to be careful to only attack when everyone is out of Sayaka's counter range. Sayaka's attack also hits a large area and deals over 400 damage, so we have Prill Cotton set up a barrier to make it more manageable and settle in for a long battle. However, Sayaka has one more trick up her sleeve, her EX skill, Cherry Blossom Dream. It takes 2 turns for her to execute, but it hits most of the battlefield, and any units caught in it will be reduced to 1 health regardless of remaining HP, barriers, or cover. Sayaka gains half her EX meter each turn, so the fight settles into this pattern. Sayaka attacks twice, prepares Cherry Blossom Dream, and performs Cherry Blossom Dream. Rinse and repeat with counters thrown in if we get sloppy. We can use this pattern to our advantage, because we only have to survive the attacks in between Cherry Blossom Dreams. As long as Ruby Butterfly or Mermaid has enough ether to heal everyone, we're good. And then we have a couple of turns to attack or stand by to regain ether. Sayaka cannot counterattack while preparing to use Cherry Blossom Dream, so during that turn Atsuma and Ruby Butterfly can attack her. We use this to get some good damage in with combo hits from the whole team.
Power of
This is all my fault.
The random encounters on the mountain have a lot of these blue imps that continuously concuss anyone in the front row, and Usurias that can heal and resurrect their allies. There's no VP point at the bottom, so we have to cycle through all our golems. We even put Yuki in the battle party, and Karin nearly ends up in the rotation too. Yuki has slightly better starting skills than the others because we didn't get her until we were level 18, whereas Rygar and Karin showed up at level 5. More importantly, Yuki's skills allow her to attack from the middle and back rows, so she doesn't get in Atsuma and Ruby Butterfly's way. It also allows her to avoid most of the blue imp's attacks. Karin has Aqua Mist, which allows her to attack at range, and while she's stuck with her weakest Cure Dance, it's better than nothing. Since Karin and Yuki are proving somewhat useful, we upgrade their weapons so they can hit a little harder. It doesn't make up for not spending SB, but every little bit helps. We also find a lost Usuria and synthesize it for our team. She has Mega Cure Dance and High Return Dance, which resurrects allies with about a third of their total health. She also has Clear Dance, so we have an option other than Ria Mimosa for healing statuses. I considered swapping out Rhea Mimosa for Yuzuria, but I decided to swap out Saber Tiger instead. Saber Tiger's attacks are short range, and we can't spend SP upgrading its health, so it's already too frail to survive in the front rows. Mage Guardian has gotten away with being a glass cannon so far, only because it can attack from further away.
Listen up. Here's how this is
I get the feeling the ascetic monk grows some interesting plants up here.
Sounds easy, right?
We make it to the Lord of Earth's temple and have to battle a Hydra to pass. I guess FromSoft like Hydras around this time. I'd love to have a stat boost to make Ruby Butterfly and Natsuma's fire attacks do more damage, but when I tried that, this was the result. With the barrier keeping us from being one-shot, Mermaid and Prill Cotton can focus on healing, while Ruby Butterfly and Natsuma toast the Hydra to a crisp. We entered the battle with a full EX meter, so we can use a stun bead flare to deal over 1600 damage in one attack. And when Mermaid is taken out, we get enough EX meter to use stun bead flare again. The Hydra is still up even after all that, plus several mega flare kicks from Ruby Butterfly, but barely, so we're able to finish it off. We return to the ascetic monk, who has a habit of breaking the fourth wall. Seriously, this guy reminds me of the dude from Big Lebowski, plus a little bit of Deadpool.
Yeah, I guess so. You don't trust me? I guess I have to make this super simple for you then, don't I? Okay? How about this?
Things are a lot less chill when we return to Sayaka's village. Ouroboros is burning it to the ground, and Sayaka is too injured from her battle with us to stop him. Ouroboros is stronger in this fight. He has higher health and an EX move called Pain and Suffering because he's the edgiest of edgelords that will instantly KO one target. We brought Yuzuria along to resurrect anyone hit, but if Ouroboros takes her out, we'll be up the creek without a paddle because I forgot to buy resurrection items. Until the 3 extra ninjas are removed, we need to keep Prill Cotton's barrier up because their combo attacks are devastating without it, so we can't boost our stats. Mage Guardian does impressive damage even without the boost, so we use its single target highlight force on Ouroboros when the ninjas aren't in range, and highlight sight if it can hit Ouroboros and some of the ninjas. Yuzuria's light mist is also useful when she doesn't have to heal the team or recover it. Ouroboros does his Shadow Clone Jutsu again, but with the barrier up, their damage is minor, especially if we keep everyone in the back rows where most of their attacks can't reach. Mage Guardian's health drops to 7, but that's safer than it appears. Mage Guardian could only be hit by one enemy because it's in the back row and the enemies only have one attack that can hit there. And I knew even if Ouroboros attacked it, which he did, he wouldn't do enough damage to knock it out because this game has no damage ranges. Ouroboros takes Yuzuria out with his first EX move. I don't know if the AI is that smart or if that was just bad luck, but we've already taken out the ninjas and Ouroboros is at low health. So with one last combo attack for style, we take out Ouroboros. Ouroboros escapes and Sayaka collapses from her wounds. Her grandfather says she'll be okay with time, and Sayaka begs Rygar to save Tokamune from Ouroboros and the Lord of Earth. At the very least, we need to stop Tokamune from reviving the Devil Golem, so we head to Kyoto City. The mystery man who helped us against the Emperor of Fire reappears when we arrive in Kyoto and offers to help us get inside the castle. He presents us to the guard at the gate as prisoners he captured, and frankly I can see why he didn't let us in on the plan. Atsuma's single brain cell would have given us away if he'd known what was happening. Once we're in the castle, the mystery man holds off the guards while we confront Tokamune. You know, the remarks we make about Tokamune's golems feel a bit hypocritical when we have Rhea Mimosa on our roster. Anyway, Tokamune's health draining attack would restore enough of his health to outpace our damage, but if we knock out his golems, he'll prioritize resurrecting them instead. Once all of his golems are KO'd, Mage Guardian, Prill Cotton, and Yuzuria take turns attacking Hanukkah and Tokamune with their AoE attacks, while Atsuma attacks the golem or Tokamune as needed. It's important we keep KOing Hanukkah because one health draining attack from Tokamune would reset a bunch of progress. Ether management for our golems is critical, and Natsuma often has to focus on Hanukkah because a couple of our golems have to stand by to recover ether. Mage Guardian even has to resort to using its body attack for the first time in ages, but we finally take out Tokamune so this farce of a battle can end. Then Ouroboros shows up with another smoke bomb and they get away again. Rygar says they must have used a secret passage to escape, and you'd think the passage would be here in the throne room because how else would they have gotten past us? But no, the passage is in Tokamune's quarters. Seriously, why didn't we block the door to the throne room? We have a Sasquatch! Luckily, Ouroboros saved us the trouble of dealing with Tokamune, which means Rygar avoided an awkward conversation with Sayaka about how he stood by while we took him out ourselves.
And your reward. Let's see. How about the honor of being killed by a devil golem?
What?
The Queen of Ice sent Ouroboros to meet his ancestors shortly afterwards and took the Lord of Earth's magic ore. We head to the Lord of Earth's temple to stop her, and on the way we find a lost straw shaman golem. These things hit very hard, and they're the first golem we've found with strong dark attacks that can hit the whole field. Straw shamans can also inflict the gravity status, which prevents units from moving. It's a debilitating status, but most bosses are immune to it, so it's mostly good for dealing with random encounters. We swap out Rhea Mimosa for it.
No, the seal isn't totally broken yet. The Lord of Earth isn't fully revived. We can beat him now.
I guess Rygar is either very confident or he read the script. Looking at the Lord of Earth, he has some decent attacks and only 1,000 health? Oh, there's the catch. He also has a 95% barrier, so only 5% of the damage we deal will get through. This is going to be a long battle. We brought Prill Cotton despite her being very vulnerable to earth attacks, because we need her barrier to have any chance in this war of attrition. Everything about this battle is slow, especially the animation for world creation, and we do not win the first attempt. We need Prill Cotton's barrier, and Mermaid has the healing skills with the most range, so we should swap out Ruby Butterfly, but for who? I noticed the Lord of Earth's ether took a significant hit from Atsuma's new EX, Force Pain. If we had a golem with an ether draining attack, maybe we could keep the Lord of Earth from being able to use skills. He'd still be able to use his EX, but it would help if he couldn't summon as often. Or maybe there's a golem that can remove the barrier? Yuki has a no barrier shot skill, but we can't learn that without SP. We have access to a golem with no barrier Sonic, Angelina, a low-level golem whose core material has been available at the shop since the beginning of the game. There's also the Yokohama guard we got before visiting Ko's lab with no protect shot. Angelina negates HP barriers, and Yokohama guard negates status barriers. I tried both of them, and neither works on the Lord of Earth. I'm not surprised, considering he's a devil golem and removing his barrier would trivialize this battle, but I had to try. With that strategy out, let's try the ether draining one. Here are the golems we have easy access to with an ether draining skill: Belladonna, Rose Whip, House Guardian, Spooky Boo, and Pylone. Most of our party is level 37. Rose Whip and House Guardian are level 32. Belladonna is level 26. Pylone is level 25, and Spooky Boo is level 20. We need a team that can survive the Lord of Earth's world creation EX. With Prill Cotton's barrier and partial cover, that means we want golems with at least 500 health. That rules out Rose Whip. She's one of the highest level options, but she has lower health than Belladonna, who's 6 levels lower. Pylone is also out due to low health. Spooky Boo is out because its ether draining skill is weaker and it's much lower level. That leaves House Guardian and Belladonna. House Guardian is 6 levels higher and might have better health. It's hard to say because of the level gap. It has 70 VP while Belladonna only has 40, and its Ether Draining skill hits a larger area with the same power as Belladonna's. However, House Guardian's other skills are useless, while Belladonna has Dark Bolt, High Cure Rate, and Power Up, which gives her more utility beyond this battle. I considered putting her on the team earlier, and I'm really wishing I had because we might not have had to grind, but here we are. Belladonna is finally at level 35. Atsuma and Mermaid are at level 42, and Prill Cotton is level 44. I don't want to overlevel, so we're going to make a few attempts. The extra levels not only gave Prill Cotton the health to survive world creation, it also increased her damage enough to one-shot the Woodians the Lord of Earth summons. Between that and Belladonna absorbing the Lord of Earth's ether to force him to stand by, managing the Woodians was much easier. Which was good, because if they weren't under perfect control, they could take out Belladonna or Prill Cotton if they attacked during a world creation turn. On the first turn, Prill Cotton set up a barrier, and Atsuma used Force Pain, which eats our entire EX meter, but has to be done as soon as possible because it stops the Lord of Earth's passive regeneration. After that, we fell into a pattern. If the Lord of Earth was out of ether and couldn't use his EX, he'd stand by and regain 220 ether. Belladonna could drain that amount of ether in 2 attacks, so he only got to act once as long as Belladonna drained him consistently. After world creation, Mermaid healed everyone, and Belladonna and Prill Cotton also helped patch the party up. If there were Woodians on the field, Prill Cotton prioritized hitting them. If there were no Woodians, or if we could line it up while still hitting the Woodians, Prill Cotton would hit the Lord of Earth with Arrow Bolt for a glorious 15 damage. Mermaid helped clean up some Woodians, but healing and keeping her in front of Belladonna and Prill Cotton were more important. Atsuma helped with the Woodians too, but mostly focused on using Flare Rush on the Lord of Earth for an astounding 20 damage. Taking out Woodians also generated enough EX meter to summon a Phoenix, which we had to use in an oh crap moment, where no one could get enough damage on a Woodian to take it out. After we had a couple turns to heal, hit the Lord of Earth and his minions, and restore ether, the Lord of Earth's EX meter would max out and we would have to prepare for another world creation. It was essential that there were no Woodians on the board, or we'd risk losing Belladonna or Prill Cotton. Prill Cotton and Belladonna also needed to be at full health and behind at least one ally, or world creation would one-shot them. Without both of them, we couldn't keep the Woodians under control, so losing either was unacceptable. Most of the time, one of them would be behind Mermaid while the other was behind Atsuma, but keeping both of them in the same column with Atsuma or Mermaid in front of them also worked. The diciest turns were the ones where the Lord of Earth had a full EX meter and Woodians were on the board, because we had to find a position where all the Woodians could be removed and Prill Cotton and Belladonna were in cover, hence why we had to have Atsuma pull a Phoenix out of his rear. After the world creation, the cycle would start again, assuming I hadn't mucked up. We only had one failed attempt at this level, but I was getting nervous towards the end of the winning attempt because the fight had been going for about half an hour and I really didn't want to screw it up.
So, where is the ether that was absorbed? Huh? Inside Atsuma? He's got the Emperor of Fire, and now the Lord of Earth inside him? So next, the Queen of Ice? Once a Devil Golem and a Magicore are bonded together, leaving the Magicore behind and absorbing everything else, well, that just isn't realistic. It's the remnants of the Lord of Earth's Magicore. Look inside, nothing left, hollowed out. Now, what do you think this process would do to a human, huh?
Hey, Rygar, that reminds me. Didn't you once go to the Sage's Tower? Rygar, take us there.
What I'm trying to say is...
You dispute the word of your princess?
Very well. I will lead you there.
Getting to the Sage's Tower involves backtracking to Junk City and traversing the volcanic path, but we can skip that. Once we get to the Sage's Tower, most of the random encounters give us problems. The Lapis Magna and Apostle Golems were the worst because they hit for massive light damage, and the Lapis Magna could do fire and water damage too. The Valkyries did water damage, so they were bad news for Atsuma. Occasionally there was an Archangel in the mix that could heal and use barriers, and Medusas that could inflict the gravity status on nearly the whole battlefield. We had to wander around solving puzzles to get enough ether to open the top of the tower, so we went through a lot of these encounters. On the bright side, we found a lost Lapis Magna and obtained its core material, so one of them is now on our side. We swap out Sasquatch for it. Lapis Magna is light type, but he has a strong water attack to replace Sasquatch's, and Sasquatch is just too cumbersome in battle. We drag ourselves to the top of the tower with the ether we need to battle the Sage's Golem, Odin. Odin is a dark golem with hard-hitting dark attacks that can hit from range like Mega Dark Spike and Mega Dark Spear. There are also 3 Valkyries fighting alongside him. Pearl Cotton puts a barrier on everyone because it's the only way Atsuma and Lapis Magna are going to survive against all these dark and water attacks. Lapis Magna focuses his Mega Light Force on Odin, dealing over 1700 damage. But Odin has over 6,000 health, so we'll need a few hits like that to take him out. Atsuma uses his Mega Phoenix EX to hit Odin and 2 of his Valkyries. It doesn't quite one-shot the Valkyries, but it does take out the one Straw Shaman hit. Odin does a lot of damage to Lapis Magna on his turn, but he can't quite one-shot him thanks to the barrier. Atsuma and Lapis Magna focus on Odin with a Flare Rush and Mega Light Force for about 2,000 damage. Straw Shaman deals a little damage to Odin and takes out the other Valkyrie that got hit by Atsuma's Phoenix last turn, while Pearl Cotton patches up Atsuma a bit. Pearl Cotton's healing is fairly weak and wouldn't be enough to keep Lapis Magna safe from Odin's attacks, but it may keep Atsuma alive. Lapis Magna goes down to a Dark Spike and Atsuma takes some damage from it and the remaining Valkyrie's Aqua Impulse, but he's still up. Straw Shaman uses Gravity Hammer on Odin. I thought Odin would be immune to gravity and only went for it because it's Straw Shaman's only non-dark attack, but the gravity worked and Odin is locked in place. Odin's Gungnir and Valkyrie's Aqua Blade is enough to take down Straw Shaman in return, and Atsuma can only attack directly in front of enemies, so he still has to get in Odin's attack range to do anything. I should have had Atsuma damage the Valkyrie more instead of moving away, because his health was too low to survive another Aqua Impulse even after Pearl Cotton healed him, but I didn't stop to do the math and left Pearl Cotton facing a Valkyrie with over 500 health instead of 300 health. However, Pearl Cotton isn't weak to water, so she can out-heal the damage from Aqua Impulse, and Valkyrie and Odin have no healing. Pearl Cotton takes down the Valkyrie, and because Odin is locked down by gravity, there's a spot where Pearl Cotton can hit him with her arrow bolt, but none of Odin's attacks can hit her, so little Pearl Cotton won the battle.
Once the Magicore is fused with the Golem, it becomes part of its body.
I see. So the Magicore also has the ability to regenerate.
Correct. Even if you do manage to tear them apart, the Magicore will quickly be reabsorbed.
So what can we do? There's no way to separate them for good?
If you disable the regeneration process itself, then it is possible.
And that would require the use of Atsuma's arm, right?
Correct. The function of that arm, however, is to absorb. So using the arm will not only negate the bond between Devil Golem and Magicore, it will absorb ether from the target too. When something is drained of its ether, it stops.
You mean...
It dies. A golem can be supplied with fresh ether and work again, of course. But humans are not so conveniently made.
Let's check the progress of your arm, shall we? Arise, my servant.
The fight against the Queen of Ice's Siren is simple because she doesn't do much damage even against fire targets, and her Cure Voice is meant to heal a lot of targets a bit, not heal one target significantly, so she can't out-heal us. To be honest, this fight is way too easy for where it is in the game. There needed to be some other ice golems or multiple sirens, or the siren should have had better damage and healing skills. Once we get the siren locked down with the gravity status, it's all over. She can clear the status, but that means she spends her turn fixing the status instead of attacking. She only breaks that pattern once, and by then Lapis Machina and Straw Shaman have all but destroyed her.
I guess good help is hard to find these days, isn't it?
Atsuma, you did nothing in that battle. Quit bragging.
Enjoy while you can, because you're next, Queenie.
No, let us set the stage at the Ice Castle. The castle lies in the frozen wastes far to the north.
Listen to me. The reason this girl was saved from the Emperor of Fire is because there were 2 Magicors.
2 Magicors? Because both the broken Magicore and Lady Corinne herself were inside the Emperor.
If you can get the original Magicore into the Queen of Ice, Toya and that second Magicore will react inside of her. This will produce a disruption in the normal merging process, and the human inside the Devil Golem can be safely removed.
The problem now is, where is the Queen of Ice's Magicore?
I have it.
Huh?
But I'm undecided. Should I give it to you? Should I not? Should I not? If you really want to save Toya, then come to Gravekeep Home, the village up ahead.
You need to know more about your arm, I think. Why don't you go and have a little chat with it, okay?
What? Talk with my arm? How?
You'll see.
We have a problem. Atsuma has to face this monster from his subconscious alone, and it has a powerful attack that can hit from a distance that inflicts the gravity status. Once that's on us, it can do to us what we did to Odin. Turnabout and all that. Normally I'd equip the cancel gravity passive skill, but we can't do that because we'd have to spend SP to learn it. There's an item that can remove statuses, release ether. I'm going to buy some and try again, but I don't know if it'll be enough. At the very least, we're going to need some luck. We're back with as many health recovery and status clearing items as we can carry. We have a full EX bar, but there's no extra enemies to take out, and we obviously can't lose allies when Atsuma is our only character. So once we've used our EX, we can't generate more. We need the Baglanji. I'm calling it a dream demon from now on because I probably did not pronounce that right. To not use dark gravity too often, for several reasons. First, we can only clear gravity 9 times. After that, we're toast because the dream demon will stay out of our attack range. Second, we can't survive 2 dark gravities in a row without using a healing item. We can barely survive a mega dark zone in a dark gravity. And the Dream Demon also has Drain Sight, which drains our ether but inflicts no damage. So we needed to use Mega Dark Zone or Drain Sight to even have a chance to safely attack or use a release ether to clear gravity. We start with a punch and it retaliates with Mega Dark Zone while it moves to the back row where we can't hit it unless we use an EX. We try to pull it forward by moving back and using a Curing Powder. The Dream Demon uses Mega Dark Zone again, but it doesn't move forward. So if we want to draw it forward even to the middle row, we'll have to stand in the back row on our side. Great. Yeah, Flare Rush isn't happening. We move to the back row and use another Curing Powder, which gives us just enough health to survive the first dark gravity. Good news, we're alive. Bad news, everything else. How do we get out of this? First, we need to heal, with the God's Nectar this time. We keep healing with recovery powders, which heal most of the damage dark gravity inflicts, until the Dream Demon uses either Drain Sight or Mega Dark Zone. This leaves us with enough health to survive a dark gravity, so we can finally use a release ether to clear the gravity status. Sometimes the Dream Demon spams dark gravity, and all we can do is heal until it gives us a chance to use a release ether. Sometimes it gravities us again after we use the release ether. That's the worst case scenario because we wasted one of our precious release ethers only to get locked down again. We can't get in range to punch after breaking the first gravity cycle, so we use Stun Bead Flare. Stun Bead Flare costs just over half the EX meter, so we can only use it once, but we have enough left for a Phoenix. We use our Phoenix out of sheer frustration after going through another gravity cycle. Trying to lure the Dream Demon into punching range only to get gravitied again is not a fun experience. With our EXs used up, we're down to punches. We got one in at the start, and I'm glad we opened with that, because we haven't landed another and we need 3 more to win. We're burning through our release ethers, and it's starting to look hopeless when RNGesus suddenly favors us, and the Dream Demon starts using Mega Dark Zone and Drain Sight more often than not. This may have partly been because it was running out of ether, but it was also sheer luck. We land a couple of punches in quick succession, and now we just need one more. We only have 2 release ethers left, so we still need some luck. And it uses Mega Dark Zone followed by Drain Sight, allowing us to get the final punch in. I was certain we'd have to grind until we could survive 2 Dark Gravities in a row, because constantly healing was giving the Dream Demon a ton of chances to gravity us, but I figured we should try with the release ethers. The celebration is short-lived because we run into another brick wall in Gravekeep Home. We can save the village elder easily enough, but afterwards Atsuma decides to battle the Mystery Man alone. The Mystery Man is a far more difficult opponent than the Dream Demon. He can heal himself for about 400 health with Cure Ballad, while Beat Sonic doesn't hit for much. His EX that he can use every other turn, Galaxy Spear, one-shots us. Yeah, this is not winnable right now, even with our new Iris Knuckle. At the very least, we need enough health to survive Galaxy Spear, so about 1500 health. And we don't even have 1100. There's no way around it, we're going to have to grind some more. We might be able to make it more interesting than just running in circles, though. The 3 Pillar Guardians are fightable because Atsuma has a weapon of the gods. The Iris Knuckle the sage made him from the god orb he found in his own mind. Don't ask questions. We could also try to take out the holy beasts. The encounters in their shrines are the most experience-rich random encounters we can access right now anyway. If we somehow make it through those before we get past the Mystery Man, then we can try the optional dungeon. There are some lost golems in there that might be useful later, and a better weapon for Atsuma. Unfortunately, we can't fast travel because this person won't let us use the teleporters until after we've beaten the Mystery Man. Even if we try to use the teleporters after saving the village elder, but before starting the battle with the Mystery Man, they won't work. For reasons. So we'll have to walk everywhere. In the Sage's Tower, we find the Gold Squat Golem. Why is it called that? I'm calling it the Gold Lion from now on. Anyway, the Gold Lion Golem near the top of the Sage's Tower will fight us now that we have the Iris Knuckle. He is an insanely powerful light golem. Even with Prilcotton's barrier, dark golems will not survive his light attacks, so don't bring them unless you want this to happen. After bravely running away, we return with Prilcotton, Ruby Butterfly, and Mermaid. I considered bringing Yuzuria because she would resist his light attacks, but her only attacking move is Light Mist. As long as Prilcotton doesn't start in the front, we can keep her up until she gets a barrier on everyone. And we have a ton of healing, so once we have the barrier, it's a waiting game. We get not only the God Orb he was guarding, but his core material as well. If we synthesize him, he'll be level 1. There's another problem too, VP. The Dream Demon, Odin, and the Gold Lion all have great move sets, and Odin and the Dream Demon start at or close to level 50, but they have 20 or less VP. If we don't end a battle in one turn, we lose at least 1 or 2 VP per fight, often more, so 20 VP translates to about 10 fights at most if we aren't wiping the floor with the enemies. For now, we synthesize Gold Lion and Odin and swap them for Yuzuria and Straw Shaman. We'll see how fast Gold Lion levels and decide if he's worth the effort. Dream Demon only has 10 VP, so not dealing with that nonsense. Next we have the Holy Beast Golem in the Volcanic Path, the White Tiger. In the PS3 version, the tiger would be sitting on the path so it wouldn't have to go through the random encounters in the shrine on the way to it. No such luck here. These encounters are difficult, and we're often outsped. Mermaid, Prill Cotton, and Lapis Magna barely make it to the White Tiger with VP left, but they have one fight left in them. The fight opens perfectly, with Otsuma getting one shot by Meteor Fang during the surprise round. I'm not joking, that is exactly what we needed because Otsuma would be useless in this fight. The White Tiger's strongest attacks, Meteor Fang and Drain Fang, can only hit the first 2 rows, so Prill Cotton, Mermaid, and Lapis Magna can stay out of range of them while attacking, but Otsuma can't. We also needed Prill Cotton to survive long enough to get a barrier on the rest of the team, so Otsuma buying us a turn was the best we could hope for there. The White Tiger's only attack that can reach the back row, Earth Grab Roar, is weaker because it's ranged and White Tiger's range stat is much lower than its direct stat, but it will inflict the gravity status and Prill Cotton is weak to it. After the nightmare of dealing with the Dream Demon's gravity, you might think we'd be in for a similar fight here, but as long as we move Mermaid and Lapis Magna next to each other in the back row before they're both gravitied, we're fine because Mermaid and Lapis Magna have more range than White Tiger does. White Tiger can attack the back row, but he can only attack the column he's in. He can't attack off to either side like we can. So even though we're locked in place by gravity, White Tiger must get into both Mermaid and Lapis Magna's attack ranges in order to hit them. Prill Cotton gets a few hits in too, but she can't survive the Earth Grab roars for long. Thankfully, the barrier stays after Prill Cotton is knocked out, and with it and Mermaid's healing, we can survive indefinitely while Lapis Magna melts White Tiger's health bar. With that, we get the White Tiger core and an Earth Orb, one of the orbs we need to enter the optional dungeon. As you've probably guessed, the White Tiger would start at level 1 if we synthesized it, and it only has 15 VP. As much as I love this golem's design, we will not be synthesizing it for our team. In addition to the reasons we covered earlier, we saw his worst weakness in our battle with him. Units that can attack from the back row are difficult for him to deal with, because his only attack that can hit them is ranged. His only earth attack is that ranged attack too, so he isn't even that good against wind units. He can't hit more than 2 targets at once, and his strongest attack, Meteor Fang, can only hit 1 target. If we could spend SP to increase his range stat, then Earth Grab Roar would be better, but without that, he isn't worth it. The next Pillar Guardian, Anubis, is in a ruin buried in the Zuala Desert. We have to approach a sinkhole, which triggers a short cutscene where we fall in. That was a pain to find the first time I played this. The battle with Anubis is barely worth talking about. It's dark type, but it only has neutral and wind attacks, so Lapis Magna roasts it. We do a combo attack at the end for funsies that does over 5,000 damage, which could have almost one-shot the thing. Anubis starts at level 1 and has low VP, and after that performance we certainly aren't going to use it. There's a teleporter we can use outside Junk City to warp to London City, so we can get access to that half of the map without having to go all the way back through Yowsimp Gorge. However, unless we want to return to Gravekeep Home to fight the Mystery Man or visit the Sage, we should not use the teleporters to Gravekeep Home because we cannot use the teleporters to return until we defeat the Mystery Man. So we would have to leave via the Sage's Tower and the Volcanic Path again. FromSoft at least made sure you wouldn't get stuck at the top of the Sage's Tower though, because when I tested taking the currently one-way teleporter back to Gravekeep Home and went to the top of the Sage's Tower, the enchant cubes we needed to reach the bottom of the tower had moved to the top so we could use them to reach the Volcanic Path. We returned to the mines near London City to fight the Divine Turtle, another one of the 4 beast golems. Otsuma goes down on the first turn, but that's to be expected. The turtle's Aqua Drain does massive damage to fire units, so even in normal runs, Otsuma doesn't do well here. That leaves our usual trio of Mermaid, Prill Cotton, and Lapis Magna to handle this. First, we set up Prill Cotton's barrier. Mermaid can out-heal Divine Turtle's damage thanks to the barrier. In fact, Mermaid could win this fight on her own with the barrier, because she can drain enough health from the turtle to offset its damage. But that would be slow, so it's better if she focuses on healing Prill Cotton and Lapis Magna. Divine Turtle tries to reverse Mermaid's type because it wants to turn her water resistance to a weakness, but Mermaid has the Negate Reverse passive skill. Negate Reverse is situational. Few enemies have element reversal skills, but when it comes up, it's very nice to have. Without it, Mermaid would go from being able to solo this fight to not being able to stay alive. Lapis Magna can do over 700 damage to the Divine Turtle before it puts up its own barrier, and can still do over 300 damage after the barrier. His Highlight Force would do even more damage, despite the turtle's fire weakness, but it takes a lot more ether, so he would have to spend more turns standing by to regain ether if we used that. It takes a while, but the Divine Turtle goes down and we get its core material and a water orb. Divine Turtle has Aqua Ether Drain, a strong ranged water move that hits a massive area and replenishes the Divine Turtle's ether. Giga Barrier, which is similar to Prill Cotton's barrier but hits a wider area, and Reverse, which reverses the type of the target. It can only hit enemies, so we can't get cheeky and make Atsuma a water type when we face the Queen of Ice, but it's still useful. I think it's a good enough moveset to be worth the leveling in low VP. It most directly replaces Belladonna or Prill Cotton because it has Prill Cotton's barrier and Belladonna's Ether Drain. I'm not getting rid of Prill Cotton because she still has her stat boosting move, so we synthesize Divine Turtle and swap out Belladonna. We're getting a team that looks impressive, although taking everything out with a collection of Magical Girl Golems was entertaining. We went back into the forest between London City and Yokohama City and entered Phoenicia's Holy Beast Shrine. The encounters are more manageable, but Phoenicia herself forces us to change our team because there's no way Mermaid could withstand her fire attacks. The only other healers left on our roster are Kareen and Ruby Butterfly, and neither of them work in this battle. Kareen is also water type, so she's out. Ruby Butterfly is fire type, and she has Negate Reverse, but she isn't good at dealing non-fire damage. I decided to try without a healer first because Prill Cotton can heal allies a bit on her own, so we swapped Mermaid for Odin. Atsuma got reversed to water type and taken out quickly, but thanks to Prill Cotton's barrier and healing, Lapis Magna and Odin were able to survive and did significant damage with Aqua Sight and Mega Dark Spear. Odin had to use one recovery powder, but it was more for ether than health. Phoenicia has Mega Flare Zone and Mega Flare Force, powerful fire attacks that hit a wide area or a single target, respectively. She also has Reverse and Resurrection. Resurrection revives allies with a decent amount of health, although she cannot resurrect herself despite being a phoenix. It's a nice skill to have, but it costs over 300 ether to use. Out of our whole team, none of them could use it more than once without recovering ether. On top of that, Mega Flare Zone and Force require over 100 ether too. A lot of the powerful golems struggle with ether management, but Phoenicia has severe issues with it. She's a good fire attacker, but so is Atsuma with his EX moves, and her Mega Flare Zone doesn't hit as hard as you'd hope, so she's best against single targets with Mega Flare Force. We're not going to use her, at least for now. The last of the three Pillar Guardians, Black Dragon, is on the coast near the destroyed bridge leading to Yokohama City. I feel like the golem design did not live up to the name. Oddly, it's wind type, but has a dark X cutter and no wind attack. We don't have any earth attacks on our team, so we bludgeon through the fight with Flare Rush and Mega Dark Spear from Atsuma and Odin. Prill Cotton helps a little with arrow bolts, but she was mostly there for her barrier, and Mermaid keeps everyone patched up. Black Dragon hits hard and Mega Slash can hit a decent area, but it requires the user to favor the front and middle rows. It also has no element coverage other than Dark X Cutter, which is a single target melee attack that would compete with Atsuma for targets. We already have a better dark attacker, Odin, so we're not going to bother synthesizing it. We have all the god orbs from the 3 Pillar Guardians, so we take a one-way teleporter to Gravekeep Home so we can visit the Sage. She forges the god orbs into iris weapons for Yuki, Kareen, and Rygar, boosting their stats significantly. They can't use the skills they obtain with the weapons because we'd need to spend SP to learn them, so the weapons are only a stat boost in this run. They're actually only the second best weapons in the game. There's a better one for each character in the optional dungeon. We're going to try to get Atsuma's, but I doubt we'll get the other weapons because that requires going through the whole dungeon. We can't get into the optional dungeon until we beat the last holy beast, the Arrow Dragon, whose shrine is located near Sayaka's village. This one lives up to the dragon part of its name, and it manages to take us down on the first attempt because it one-shots Lapis Magna during its surprise round. On the next attempt, everyone survives the surprise round, and once we get Prilcotton's barrier up, it can't one-shot us anymore. It has several wind attacks, including one that inflicts the gravity status, but its strongest attacks are single target so we can keep everyone healed up. We won't be synthesizing the Arrow Dragon because its only claim to fame is its strong wind attacks, and it's pretty ether hungry. I wish White Tiger and Arrow Dragon had barrier and stat boosting moves, but alas, they don't. So if Arrow Dragon and White Tiger were lackluster because they could only deal damage, and Phoenicia was too ether hungry, why did we go after them? We needed the earth, fire, and wind orbs they dropped to enter the optional dungeon, the Holy Beast Shrine. This is a huge maze with several lost golems, treasures, and a set of unique weapons. It also has some of the most experience-rich random encounters in the game. There are no VP points after the entrance, but there are checkpoints to return to the entrance every 3 floors. Once we make it to a checkpoint, we activate a teleporter to return to that floor, so we don't have to clear the dungeon in one shot. But running out of VP is a real danger, and it's why I didn't want a team full of golems with low VP. To get to the Holy Beast Shrine, we have to leave Junk City via a gate near Fubile's house that leads to the rock pinnacles. Follow the path and you'll reach the Holy Beast Shrine approach. The Holy Beast Shrine approach is a safe area with a VP point, but sadly no shop. So if we want to replenish our items or change our team, we'll have to go back to the shop in Junk City. We place the 4 orbs we got from the Holy Beasts onto their pedestals and open the large gate that leads to the first floor of the dungeon. We managed to get through the first 3 floors with 1 God's Vigor used on Atsuma, although Kareen and Rygar had to go into the battle rotation to give our golems on the sidelines time to recover VP. Other than his barrier skill, Rygar is there to be a meat shield, and Kareen isn't much better, although she can heal us a bit. A stronger version of the Fire Guardian waits for us on level 3. We can go back to the entrance to heal our VP before we fight it, so we go into battle with Prilcotton, Lapis Magna, and Ruby Butterfly. It takes a while because of the Fire Guardian's giant health pool, but with the barrier and Ruby Butterfly's healing, we hold out long enough to finish it off and get the Moon Fist core. This game doesn't just have a Moonlight Greatsword, it has a whole set of moon weapons. Let's see what Atsuma's stats are with this thing. That's a bigger boost than I remembered. This might be enough to beat the Mystery Man. We return to Gravekeep Home and save the Elder, who has been patiently getting mauled by golems this entire time, and start the battle. It turns out we have just enough health to survive a Beat Sonic and a Galaxy Spear, which means we have more chances to attack in between healing. The yo-yos the Mystery Man summons throw a wrench in the works though. They have Mega Light Blow, which does enough damage to take us out if we're hit with Galaxy Spear on the same turn. Mega Light Blow can only hit the first 2 rows, but without using an EX, Atsuma can also only hit the first 2 rows, so it'll be impossible to hit the Mystery Man without being in range of at least 1 yo-yo. However, the Moonlight Glove increased our ranged attribute enough for our Mega Phoenix to one-shot the yo-yos if they get out of control, so we have that in our back pocket. We use Stun Bead Flare on the Mystery Man to take out about half his health, tank a Galaxy Spear, and heal while he summons the first yo-yo. We move back to try to draw him into a range we can hit, and he moves up and summons another yo-yo. If we catch him with the Phoenix, he won't have much health left, so we summon a Mega Phoenix to take out the yo-yos and damage him. Unfortunately, he has enough health left to survive a Flare Rush, and he retaliates with another Galaxy Spear, forcing us to heal. We need to end this before he can summon more yo-yos. We lure him into punching range while he hits us with a beat sonic, and that takes his health down enough that if we can get him in range of a flare rush, we'll win. We move to the back corner to try to lure him all the way forward. All we need is for him to hit us with one more beat sonic, and he does. If he'd had enough health to survive the flare rush and hit us with a galaxy spear, he could have taken us out, but we got just enough extra damage from the Moonlight Glove to take him down. Atsuma, please stop fighting alone.
A proposition?
Yes, we fight. During the battle, free Toya from your control.
And meanwhile, the child tries to use his arm to negate Toya as my magic core?
Right.
Why should I agree to such a thing?
Are you scared? I didn't take you for a coward. How pathetic. The Queen of Ice, nothing but a weapon, showing human weakness.
Are you attempting to provoke me?
Yes, I'm glad you managed to comprehend that. Machine though you are.
Okay then, I accept. But you're going to die. Do you understand that?
Now go, Toya. I'll draw this out as long as I can. Use the time well.
Okay. Thank you.
And there he goes. How sweet, all in a hurry.
Lapis Magna and Prill Cotton are low on VP by the time we make it through the Ice Castle, so we fight Toya with Grand Cross V and Gold Lion instead. Toya counterattacks like Sayaka, so it's impossible for Atsuma or Grand Cross V to hit him without getting countered. Atsuma uses Force Pain to stop Toya's regeneration. We aren't going to be able to do enough damage to take Toya out otherwise, so there goes our EX meter. Grand Cross V gets taken out shortly afterwards. He was not the best choice for this battle. Atsuma won't survive if Toya uses Heaven's Squall because it's a water attack, but for some reason Toya uses Revenge Enchant and copies Yuki's EX, Lunatic Dance, instead. I didn't know he could copy from characters not in the battle. I'm glad he did get one of Karin's. It was enough to take out Mermaid, but Atsuma and Gold Lion finished the battle with the help of a few recovery powders. If we had told Toya we were ready to kill him, this would be the end of the run. That decision skips several battles for an ending. The battle with Toya is the same either way, so we can safely say we can get an ending with no SP, but it's not the true ending. This is why Rule 3 exists. Ending on the Toya fight would be an unsatisfying end to the run. We have to get through the end of the game in one shot once we trigger the Queen of Ice's cutscene, but we can leave any time before that. So we save, and go say hi to the Queen so we can see what we're dealing with. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. The only golem surviving her attacks is Mermaid, and Mermaid can't do enough damage to overcome the Queen's regeneration. At the very least, we're going to need a full EX meter, and we might need to get some more water golems on the team if we can find some that have neutral attacks. The Queen of Ice is immune to water, so Sasquatch, for example, wouldn't be able to help here. We'll go take out some random encounters in the castle until we have a full EX meter and try again, but I have the feeling we're going to have to grind some more. The full EX meter allows us to remove the Queen's regeneration before she takes out Atsuma. We get a barrier on Mermaid before Prill Cotton goes down, and we get some damage on the Queen before Lapis Magna is taken out. But it's clear that unless Mermaid can win this fight on her own, this isn't going to work. Mermaid can survive indefinitely using her HP drain voice, but the Lady Azlight golems can heal the Queen and themselves for more damage than we inflict. And once we're down to Mermaid, they prefer to heal instead of doing damage. We're either in a stalemate or a very slow loss once Mermaid runs low on ether. Either way, we aren't winning right now, so we reload our save. The obvious answer here is to level grind, but I want to make sure we're grinding up the right golems. We buy the remaining core materials at the store. There are still some cores at the casino and lost golems in the Holy Beast Shrine, but we have most of the golems in the game. I'm not going to go through all of them, but here are the ones that stood out. Hydra. Its water typing and tankiness may keep it alive, and it has strong neutral attacks. We could swap out Prill Cotton for Divine Turtle if we're using a barrier instead of a stat boost, because Divine Turtle has a barrier that's just as strong and it would be tankier. However, it cannot damage the queen because it only has a water attack. Or we could try Phoenicia and hope that between her, Lapis Magna, Atsuma, and Prill Cotton's strong up stat boost, we'd be able to end the battle quickly. Phoenicia is too low level to even try that right now, but we can attempt with Hydra, Mermaid, and Divine Turtle. I'll spare you the 10-minute attempt, but we simply can't do enough damage to the Queen of Ice. She stays in the back corner for the whole fight, so only Hydra's weaker attack can hit her. We have to give up Mermaid's attack, because they can't both target the Queen when she's in a corner. There's no way to stop the Queen from moving into a corner. She's immune to the gravity status. She's also immune to the poison status for anyone screaming at their screen to hit her with Hydra's poison field. Divine Turtle has great survivability, and his attacks handle the minions better than I thought they would, but he cannot damage the Queen because she's immune to water, so we need Hydra to do more damage. If Mermaid's healing and damage were better, that'd be good too. Just in case, we're going to level Lapis Magna, Phoenicia, and Prill Cotton, so we can try the Fiery Glass Cannon strategy if this doesn't work. Odin and Goldlion are also along for the ride because why not? It took around 10 hours of grinding in the Holy Beast Shrine for me, but through the magic of editing, the team is now level 50 to level 65. It's almost 2 in the morning, and I'd like to at least attempt the Queen of Ice before I go to sleep. We're going with the Fiery Glass Cannon strategy first because Hydra didn't improve as much as I hoped. The plan for this battle is stupidly simple. Have Prill Cotton get her stat boost on as many team members as possible, have Atsuma use his EX, and then have everyone hit the Queen with the strongest fire attacks they can muster and hope we take her down before she takes us down. We have 2 fire types, our non-fire type golems are fragile, and we have next to no healing besides items, so once they start attacking us, we're toast. But Atsuma's EX one-shots the minion golems and buys us a turn where we only have to deal with the Queen's attack, which we can all survive. Once. We survived the Queen's retaliation, but we have no way of removing her golems again, and even if we did, we wouldn't survive another one of her ice gigazones, so we either win or lose this turn. She has about 3,000 health left. Phoenicia and Lapis Magna can do about 4,000 damage with Mega Flare Force and High Flare Sight, and thankfully we can get them both into attack range. The brick wall I have been bashing my head against fell down in less than 2 minutes. Maybe we over-leveled, but to be honest, I don't think so. We had to win on that last turn or we were going to be wiped out. Of course, it doesn't end there. Queenie has a second phase. She has 2 attacks in this phase. Blizzard, a nasty water attack that hits the first 2 rows and pushes targets back, and Ice Storm, a stronger water attack that only hits the back row. If we keep our team split between the 2 zones, we may be able to split the damage they take. Other than that, our goals are the same as before. Get Prill Cotton's stat boost on everyone, especially Phoenicia, and then use our strongest attacks on the Queen. Mega Flare Force, High Light Force, and Flare Rush. We don't have the EX meter for Force Pain this time, but the Queen's regeneration is based on her current remaining health, not her maximum health, and we cut her down so fast that she barely has a chance to regenerate anything. She takes Phoenicia out, but she has next to no health left, and Atsuma and Lapis Magna are able to deal enough damage to take her down. You might think that's the end, but no, we fall through the floor and end up next to the golem we saw on our way through the ice castle earlier. And Atsuma's arm is resonating.
Return all matter. Hey, wait a minute. You mean everything in our world will disappear? Moron! Isn't that the same thing?
Why are you displeased? This destruction you see before you, it will not have occurred. That is the human's desire.
No! Maybe 1,000 years ago they did. But they're all dead now. We've changed.
I can only obey my command. Changes in circumstance mean nothing to me.
I'm not going to cover the battle between Atsuma's Infinity Parasite and Makoto and Toya in detail in any of my runs. Atsuma's stats and skills don't affect the battle. He has the same moves and health in this fight regardless of what he normally has. Toya and Makoto's stats and moves are set too. The only gimmick is that we have to hit the parasite that likes to hide behind Atsuma, but Toya and Makoto both have ranged attacks that can easily target the parasite without hitting Atsuma. This may as well have been a cutscene. We have a chance to change our party and save here. It's important that we don't overwrite our last save before starting the battle with the Queen of Ice, because we're stuck down here until we beat Infinity or load back to before the battle with the Queen. We switch to Lapis Magna, Divine Turtle, and Mermaid. Divine Turtle doesn't have a stat boosting skill, but it has a barrier, a better attack, and more health than Prill Cotton. Now we have to beat Infinity 4 times. Infinity is a light type, but has no light attacks, so I probably should have brought Odin instead of Lapis Magna, but let's see if we can make this work. The first phase is the most complicated. Infinity has 3 magic cores from the other devil golems, and the magic cores can heal Infinity, and they expand Infinity's moveset while they're alive. For example, the fire magic core gives Infinity the fire saber skill, which would annihilate Mermaid and Divine Turtle. The only attack that hits the whole board is the weakest one, Nightmare, and Mermaid can easily out-heal its damage once we get rid of the other attacks by taking out the magic cores. We do our best to hit the fire magic core first, because Fire Saber is the most dangerous attack. The ice and earth magic cores crumble soon after, and once Infinity only has Nightmare, it's easy. There's a short cutscene in between phase 1 and 2, so technically they're 2 separate battles, and we must have lost VP because Divine Turtle starts the second phase at 1 health and 1 ether. We fix it by using a God's Ambrosia, and thankfully phases 2, 3, and 4 are all part of the same battle, so our VP won't be checked again. Infinite's second phase transforms him into a massive golem that takes up the whole board, like the Emperor of Fire and the Queen of Ice's second phase, making him easy to hit. He has 2 attacks in this phase, Death Rush R, which would one-shot Lapis Magna and Mermaid without a barrier, but only hits the front row and the right half of the middle row, and Death Rush L, that hits for less than half the damage of Death Rush R, but also negates barriers. It hits the back row and the left half of the middle row. Step 1 is to get everyone out of Death Rush R range, then we focus on getting Mermaid into a position where she can heal everyone, and getting Atsuma into the left half of the middle row, where he can punch Infinity while staying out of Death Rush R range. After that, it's just a matter of wearing this phase down, while Mermaid keeps us healed. Or at least it would be if Infinity didn't have an EX move, Apocalypse, that inflicts over 800 damage to the whole board and the gravity status. Mermaid can't out-heal that, so if this goes too long, we'll have to use health recovery items. Also, I tried using Divine Turtle's status barrier, and every time he uses it, it says it had no effect, so I don't know how status barriers are supposed to work. Watching the footage, wait a minute, they all have a status that says no effect. Is that what they called the status immunity buff? That's not confusing at all. Well, I think I've figured it out now, but past Luna playing the game did not, because it was 2 in the morning and I just wanted this to be over so I could go to bed. We have release ethers to fix the gravity, but we're going to wait until phase 3 because we don't need to move anymore for phase 2. Phase 3 has ether charge, which negates stat boosts and absorbs ether. The ether absorption is nasty because Mermaid and Lapis Magna have been struggling with their ether, so we want to keep them out of that. But the other option is Omega Spectrum, an attack that inflicts nearly 1000 damage. Everyone can survive it at full health, but we can't out-heal it. However, neither of these attacks negate barriers, so we're free to put one up and cut the damage to a more reasonable amount. We use release ethers and get the barrier up, while Mermaid heals everyone. We settle into a formation, but I make a mistake. We should have put Atsuma in front of Lapis Magna to cover him from Omega Spectrum and Infinity's EX in this phase, Ether Cannon. Without cover, Ether Cannon one-shots Lapis Magna even with a barrier. Okay, nobody panic, we have items. Mermaid uses a God's Nectar because the Ether Cannon nearly took her out too, and Atsuma uses a recovery powder. Then we have Atsuma use a return powder on Lapis Magna to revive it, while Mermaid and Divine Turtle heal and barrier him. Turn order matters here. The return powder needs to be used first. Once Lapis Magna is revived, barriered, and healed, we make sure he stands behind Atsuma so that doesn't happen again. Phase 4 is Infinity's head. Are you sure you can keep this up forever? His attacks in this phase are nasty. No Protect Howl does about 500 damage and negates barriers, while Death Grasp does nearly 1000 damage and drains ether. Both attacks hit the whole battlefield. However, Infinity's AI can be manipulated to use the weaker No Protect Howl if we just keep putting up barriers. Infinity is harder to hit in this phase because he's 4 tiles size instead of taking the entire board, but he's still too big to hide from Atsuma in the corner. With a final punch, yes, the most basic starting attack, Atsuma takes out Infinity once and for all. Well, mostly. For all intents and purposes, that was the last attack, but there had to be a power of friendship scene, so there's a 5th phase with all the human characters. Before anyone panics, we just have to have Atsuma use his new EX, which is literally the only thing we can do in this battle to win the game. In my opinion, this is part of the cutscene, not a 5th phase.
Yeah, get him!
I'm with you, Atsuma. Don't forget me. And I'll help too.
Humans change. I mean, it's been 1,000 years. You've lost. You hear me? Lost because you haven't changed at all.
There's an epilogue afterwards in the newly rebuilt Yokohama City and the credits roll, proving that yes, you can beat Enchanted Arms without spending SP. We didn't even have to get to max level. A big part of that was the Moonlight Glove. If we hadn't gotten it, Atsuma would have needed about 500 more health just to get past the battle with Makoto before the Ice Castle. And without spending SP, that takes a lot of levels. I think we would have had to be close to level 85 to get past Makoto without it. There were fewer walls in this run than I thought there would be. Getting past the Lord of Earth was the most annoying part. Grinding in the ascetic court is a pain because almost every encounter has at least one Yazuria that constantly heals and revives the enemies. Not to mention the Lord of Earth battle takes upwards of 30 turns with slow animations, so you can't just attempt it over and over without wasting a ton of time. The Dream Demon fight was probably our luckiest. I was banking on good RNG to not get gravitied too often, and the Makoto fight also had an RNG element with how often he summoned the yo-yos. I'd say either the battle with Makoto or the Queen of Ice was the hardest, because those two did so much damage and our options against them were limited. I expected Mermaid, Lapis Magna, and Divine Turtle to be the stars of this run, especially Mermaid because she's useful in so many battles throughout the game, but Prill Cotton was a surprise to me. I didn't realize she had a powerful barrier and a good stat boosting move. Venetia also ended up being way more important than I gave her credit for. I stand by what I said about her being too ether hungry, but she was very good for taking out the Queen of Ice. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'm sorry this run took 2 weeks, but to be honest, some games, especially longer ones like JRPGs, need the extra week. So if you guys like them, then the schedule might need to be a bit more flexible. Unless I get faster at making these. I'm trying. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It really does help. If you have challenge run ideas, please put them in the comments down below, even if it's for another game. See you guys next time.